for us to excel in our profession, they normally say professional success is coined to the function of ability and the function of opportunity. So Unabcec has given you the opportunity, and now we are looking forward to your ability to be successful in life. Now, ability comprises of several things. We have willingness to participate. You can be given the opportunity to undertake this training, but what, are you willing to participate in this training? That is one thing that you have to consider. And then the other thing is experience. Once you get this opportunity and you're now in the field, your training it is an area where you're going to obtain experience. But I must tell you one thing about experience is that we have people who have successfully completed their engineering course and are working in a well-placed offices, but they cannot do something relevant in engineering, actually. If you're to test people working in high offices, engineers in Uganda, and give them even one storage building house, tell them to design, you will see no output actually coming from those people. So when you go to decide, the first question you should ask yourself is, what is the quality of experience that you want to achieve? And how updated is the kind of experience you're interested in? Because in most cases now, you people are being teased. I understand that if you don't have job experience, you will not be employed. I understand that is true, but where is the school of fieldwork experience? It is basically not there. When you give an opportunity like this, is when you will get the ability to get experience, to be a very successful professional person. But leave that aside. Today we are going to look at what can make you be professionally successful. So now, Unabcec is trying to look at all this. The executive director had actually told you that they are trying to improve the skill capacity, enhance the technical capacity of the professionals in Uganda. And that is very true. Now, basing on this, they are trying to look at what is called critical thinking. And under critical thinking, there's a component of system thinking. Now, for us to build a very sustainable infrastructure, for us to develop, to be independent, not to so much rely on China, not to so much rely on Japan, not to so much rely on the European Union. We have to develop our own technical capacity. We have to develop our own financial base. And how do we develop? System thinking is a situation of looking at all these things holistically. Now, even if the contractors themselves have ability, they have the financial capacity to undertake, if they still don't have the technical capacity of the people, that means we cannot succeed as Ugandan to liberate ourselves from what we are going through right now. That's why they have to look at the situation holistically. They have to improve the technical capacity. They have to improve their financial base. They have to improve so many things, the cultures and so on. So this is basically briefly what I wanted to tell you about why you need this training. Now, why are we carrying orientation today? The reason why we are carrying orientation is because there's what we call in management culture. In so many cases, when we talk about culture, people take it to be sense of belonging. And that is very true. We normally take the sense of belonging, but culture has been widely researched, and culture has been widely written about. Culture is basically what we believe in, the values and so on. And now, what is standing strong, what makes most organizations stand is also culture. But we remember, we have different type of culture. We have regional culture, we have national culture, we have family culture also. We do have tribal culture, that is true. But what is most important, what we consider to succeed, is organizational culture, team culture, and your own individual culture. The way you brought up, the way you behave, what you believe in, and so on. The reason why we are here today for orientation is that you were brought up in a family, and that family has its own culture. You went to an educational institution. That educational institution also had its own culture. Or you were living with your uncle somewhere where you were studying, that you already joined another family. That family had its own culture. You went through to, maybe some of you worked now, you worked somewhere, and at the workplace you are working in, it also has its own culture. So your individual culture is formed from all those cultures. But now we are going to work together as groups where we are supposed to form a team culture. And we are going to be ruled by the organizational culture. So what is most important thing here is that how do we work together to ensure that we quickly adopt to the culture, which is quite good for our environment and for our profession, to make us go. Because not all the cultures that we are adopted from family, from educational institution, from where we work from where we stayed, are cultures that are required. So we are going to a situation where we need to start comparing. Okay, to develop a team culture, we need ABCD. What did I have as my team culture? You need to take some out, you need to bring some in. You also have to make a contribution where you have gone, and also you take some of the things that you're getting. So culture is very, very, very important. The most important thing is that you have been at home and so on. Now you're going to join an institution. How are you supposed to behave when you're working as a team? Some of you are short-tempered. Some of you do not know how to reply to people. Some of you are too polite, which is very good. Some of you have that fear of presenting themselves to people. Some of you are courageous, they can present well. Some of you have the best idea and so on. Now, how do you bring this together to form a team culture which is capable to produce something which is better for the society? And that is the kind of brain that we want. Some of you are going to this institution, but you're going to improve them yourself because you're going to take some better cultures. Some of you are going to this institution with completely very weak and strange cultures. You have to compromise on what you have, and you get more knowledge that will support you in your career. But the most important thing, when we go there and we start practicing, first try to observe. There are so many things that happens first of all, you need to organize, you need to understand the organizational culture. What is the object? What is the mission of this organization? What is the objective of this organization? What do they want from us? What are the rules and regulations of this organization? Because most of all these organizations are built on the organizational culture. They have aligned goals, they have aligned objectives, and so on. How do you behave to ensure that you also align yourself with this organizational goal and organizational culture? This is very much important. That's why we are organizing this orientation. Now, leave that aside. Now, when we get ourselves into the site, there are several things that we meet that we need to talk about today. The first thing is that some of you, when you go, they look at you as a student who are yet to learn. Some of you are taken advantage of. There are some things you're going to start meeting people who have a lot of money. Especially the ladies, even the guys, you will get women who have a lot of money and so on. Instead of concentrating on your professional career guidance, in professional careers, you're going to start concentrating on something else. You will have not achieved the objectives that Unabcec want you to achieve. So when you go to these workplaces, first, stay calm, understand how this organization operates. It is good to ask questions, but be a little bit polite, because what happens is that when you go to site for the first time, because of the organizational behavior and the way people behave, because we come from different culture, you'll find people start separating themselves in a group. For us, me, I don't like that guy, I don't like him, and so on. But just because you do not have the ability to unite, you do not have the team culture to ensure that you grow together. So when you go first, try to understand the organizational culture. Another thing is that we are trying to really let you know that when you were in the university, this is a transitional period that it is going to hit you somehow hardly. When you were in the university, some of you have never earned money of their own. You are depending on your parents. You have never stayed alone where if you don't have anything, you can sleep hungry, or you have to work hard to get something to eat. So this is a transitional period where you should not be hit hard, start complaining, this life is sad, I want to go back to my parents. You have just started the road to climb to success. And there's a lot of up and down in success. Sometimes actually some people sleep hungry. So some of you now are going to leave home because the site you're going to stay in is a little bit distant from your home, and you have to go and start renting. Even if you will be facilitated maybe with some little amount for rent and food, it may not be demand. It may not be enough to facilitate all your demands. So this is a transitional period where you have to start learning how to be independent. Because as we human beings, the way we are created is that there's a time that we have to stay with our people, but there's a time where you have to be independent alone. Then there's a time that people have to start staying with you. So you have to undergo through all these processes. You are staying with your parents. Right now, it is time for you to start staying independently. And while staying independently, you have to know what it takes to be independent. First of all, you need a sense of financial discipline. The way you used to spend has to reduce. There are certain things that when you're doing, you have to reduce them. I can share with you little experience. I told you I'm not going to use PowerPoint. We just need to talk because it is discussion. When I joined Engineering Academy in 1999, actually not 2000. Now in 2000 was when I left home. I was very young. I left home because my teachers had construction firm and they needed someone to be there as clerk of works, but I could not work as a clerk of works. So I started as motor attendant for the first time. Now, after motor attendance, I started working as a bricklayer because I now had the capacity. Now, from there, I became a gang leader. After gang leader, just like that, after gang leader, I became a trade foreman. From trade foreman, I became a full foreman. Now I was heading a section, a professional section. Now, but in all this section, the people that I started with them together remained behind because of the lifestyle that they had. I do not want you to do that, but till now, I think I have not reached a disco hall. I don't know how club look like. I have not taken time to watch football. I don't have a football team. But now you also need to balance with your social part of life because you are already grown up. You need to meet some natural laws and so on. But now when you go and start staying alone, you need to give time for yourself to start understanding that you need to be responsible in all these things. So the first thing when you go to site is that most of you are going to be on site and you will get problems. Now, some of you will start asking, how do I address these problems? You're fearing, you're still new. Some of you are harassed. Some of you are sometimes mistreated in different ways. So on every project, we have what is called grievance redress mechanism. This is a method of systematically addressing problems anybody who is facing problem, because this thing was introduced as a result of the funders, because you'll find on site sometimes ladies are harassed sexually. Some people, because they have lower position, they are taken out of their workplace. You're forced out of your job forcefully without payment. A lot of unfair treatment. And sometimes even if you report, there is no justice that you can get. So they instituted what is called grievance redress mechanism. It is on site, it is implemented anywhere. So when you're being faced with any form of problem, there is a clear procedure of reporting it. In case, because there are always committees formed on site, on very good site and in a very good organization. So you have to report to those organizations, to the concerned person. If you're not satisfied, because it is a legal requirement these days, it is within your rights, you can actually proceed even with Ministry of Labor if you cannot be helped within the organization. You can actually proceed. That is actually your right, but try to not subject yourself to a situation that can put you into danger. When you go, you get some people who drinks and so on and so on. Try to make yourself a little bit a responsible person. You go into site, you will get all kind of behaviors. The culture I'm talking about is observed by few categories of people. But you remember the real group of people who undertake these construction works are people from craft who might have not received the kind of talks I'm having with you today. So controlling their finances, controlling their emotions, dealing with their emotional responses, behaving in a responsible manner is not there. You'll find some of them drinks and some of them go to some places which are risky and so on. When you go to these places of work, try to behave a little bit responsibly, understand their behavior, know what is good. You can advise where you can advise, and where you cannot advise, you also find a different way. But the way you approach issues are very, very important. First of all, even if you see someone doing something wrong, first understand the person, sit and find the best way on how you can approach that person. Don't just go like that, because some people, there's a way they behave. Now, the next thing is that we are in a profession where we deal with things that happen. We create things. And in the process of creating these things, sometimes we subject our life to danger. So under that, it is called occupational health and safety. And this occupational health and safety was initiated because of too much accident that was happening on site a lot, those days when people were constructing. Now, the accident, I cannot define it for you. You know what accident is, but it is an occurrence which is not planned. You find it happening, but studies actually shows that the accident can be avoided. So many funders have actually instituted their own standards for occupational health and safety, but they're also approved international standards that are everywhere on site when you go. But when you go on site, there are certain things that we need to look at. One, we should know that people actually die. And when you subject yourself to some of this danger, you can actually die. So the causes of these accidents are actually many. Some of them by the organization themselves, the decision of the management, and failure to facilitate something which is required on site that can take care of your health and safety, of your safety. And then individually, you can actually also cause accident. And then others are due to equipments and so on that we are going to deal with. And the reason I'm talking about equipment is that I believe here I'm not only talking to the civil engineers, I'm talking to all categories of engineers. And now what I was talking about, the system thinking, is that the engineering has gone so wide. Civil cannot now be alone. Electrical engineers cannot now be alone. Recently, I was doing my experiment And my experiment is no longer a civil engineering experiment. It is funded by International Federation of Structural Concrete. Now, I can give you an example of Nile Bridge. Now, when we are putting infrastructure like Nile Bridge, we need all the categories of engineers. Much as you're seeing what is standing is concrete, but there are lots of other professions, professional inputs, which we are put there. We have the input from the IT department. They designed a structural health monitoring system. But those are the telecommunication engineers, structural health monitoring system. You see the house which is close to the bridge. Whatever thing is happening on the bridge, it can actually be detected from the house. The load of every vehicle that is passing on the bridge is reflected into the room. And the load is automatically computed, and they compare with the acceptable load of the bridge. If the load is too much, they also get alert. If possible, the vehicle can be confiscated, because the load we had set is the same load that is set on the way bridge at Chimaka. So it is also helping us to check the people of Chimaka, whether they're allowing vehicles which are overloaded or not. So you'll find the input of telecommunication engineer on Nile Bridge is also really so great. Now the electrical bit of it is that bridge has to be wired. And wiring of that kind of bridge, you need a very serious wiring system and a design of the electrical system. That bridge, you say, hearing that it lights in the night. Yes, it lights in the night, but the light is coming from the electrical system and are produced by bulb. And those bulbs needs to be well planned, the calculations and so on. And now, when we are drilling that bridge, the input of mechanical engineers were very important, because we have gone after the water. Like if you enter water, when you touch the base of the water, underground the water, we have gone 22 meters deep from the water, not from the water surface, but under the water, we have gone 22 meters deep. And 22 meters deep under that bridge, we had a lot of the input from mechanical engineers. We had to use a machine called Supertop, and it's mechanically driven. And the entire work was 80% of the work was executed by mechanical engineers. So what we are looking at right now is that all these components, all these engineering disciplines are actually supposed to nowadays move together for all the sustainable infrastructures in all countries. It is only maybe when we are talking of 2 or 5 storage building, I do not value those so much, because the last building I worked on, I think, was a Mapera house. Then I had some little input, not so much on Kingdom Hall, not really so much, until when this thing of URA that I was only checking some few things, URA Tower. But I am not so much now on building, because I'm trying to move to extreme engineering. So when I was doing my experiment, I was supposed to use sensors, the gauges. And now these sensors, I'm supposed to use a software, which software we never had. So I had to get in touch with some telecommunication engineers. We worked together with him in order to get what I really needed for me to get all the design, the result that I wanted. So we need to think of the whole system of engineering. There's no need of us boasting that, no, me, I'm a civil engineer. I remember when I was, for my bachelor, we were underlooking the telecommunication engineers, we were underlooking sometimes the electrical engineers, that me, I'm going to have a lot of money. But now the system is coming where civil engineers cannot work independently. The electrical engineers cannot work independently, because for you to wire a house, someone has to build the house. Water engineer cannot work independently, because you need a very good system for your water to flow. So we need ourselves as the whole profession. Let's not despise any profession. Let's not talk ill of any other engineering discipline that I'm better than the other. We are all the same. So in this accident, in this issue of accident, we are subjected to different risks depending on our area of discipline. When I talk about civil engineering, there are certain things that you have to do. You will go and you get a general guidelines of how the site is managed to prevent accident. And in most cases, we do have a professional for managing health and safety on site. Every site is these days, it is a mandatory law that they must have a safety officer. Though not every project has, but at least most contractors are aware of this, that you must have a safety officer on site. Even if you are applying for this job, there must be a position for someone of safety, safety officer. So as I was saying, this accident can be caused by management decision and organizational process. If they do not plan well on how site is supposed to be, if they have not planned for very good facilities, if they have not planned for very good equipment that you're supposed to use on site, if they have not provided for you safety gears, like what you're supposed to put on, the helmet, the overall, the hard shoes, and so on. And also the workplace itself. Some of us subject ourselves. This is not now. This is not now the organization itself. You send to site to go and work. You'll find it has rain. Instead of keeping good environment, you cannot. The area is slippery. The water is everywhere, and you can then you sometime in the building and you just leave things like so. The workplace alone is also capable of causing us accident. And then the people, we ourselves, we the individual. I'm going to discuss under each because this is a very sensitive topic. We are also capable of causing accident for ourselves. Our action, the way we do our things, overconfident that, no, me, I know how to do this thing with the experience. Before you know it, you're gone. So let's try to look at some particular factor of individual. I don't want to concentrate so much on organization. The first thing is the knowledge. You're going on site, you will get very dangerous chemical, which is you're going to touch without even asking. You're going to start mixing without asking. There's some chemical which are very, very strong and are not supposed to be tampered with, both in mechanical field, in civil engineering field, even sometime in telecommunication engineering field. Or you're in electrical, you go and you touch somewhere which is not supposed to be touched. So if you do not have prior and proper knowledge of something when you have gone, do not touch anything until when you left, and unless when you're told to do so. And even if you're told to do so, please ask how. It is better to ask how than to cry after when it has happened. So please, when you do not have knowledge of anything, don't touch anything. And then also sometimes skills. Skill, sometimes it is basically a personal, it is a personal output of someone to do something, even if you're experienced, but the skill on how you undertake something also matters a lot. So you make sure you have the right skill of doing the job. In most cases, when you get a very good site, and I want you to take this from me, you start practicing if it is in your independent site. When people have come in the morning, before they start doing anything, it is most important that you check each and everyone against some other side. They check whether you have taken alcohol, whether you have some kind of hangover, whether you have some drug, because some people to work hard, sometimes actually they go with, is it opium? Opium, yeah, I think so. They go with opium. On site, they smoke in order to get strength, and so make sure these things are not on you. And you make sure that if it is on your own side, or if it is not on your side, you suggest people to do a toolbox training. On some side, they do parade first in the morning to make sure you're active. Then after that, you go for toolbox training. The carpenters, they go and they brief you. Today, we are going to do ABCD. These are the risks involved. Please make sure you take care. In electrical, they said, okay, today we are going to use this kind of wire. This wire, the source of power is here. When you're starting this, make sure that you turn off all the system. When someone is still working up, make sure nobody turns on the light, because so many people have died on the pole. You find someone is working from nowhere, someone turn on the light and someone is actually dying. In Isimba, when these people were working, a very experienced diver was down, and people in the house actually were not aware. So when they turned on the light, they turned on the system. The guy was pulled, dragged, and I think 2 people died during that time, which was very unfortunate. So communication is also very important. Through training, through telling people the right thing they're supposed to do, and always ask. And then people talk of experience. In most cases, actually, the most experienced people are the ones who sometimes die. They just say, for me, I don't need a safety wear. I don't need ABCD. I don't need a mask to do certain thing. I don't need a face mask, not face mask, or a gear for welding if I'm welding. But it is very, very, very dangerous. Let's try to be professional, create difference between you and any other person who is just from somewhere and is working on site. Because for you, you are there learning to manage a bigger project in future. And then the attitude. That one goes back to culture I was talking about. Sometimes you must have a better attitude, or the attitude, how you approach things and so on, the way you relate with people. On site, actually, when you go and you start pretending that you know more and so on, the people who know how to do the work are these people from craft that you're seeing, people from junior that you're seeing. They know how to do things very, very, very well. I remember I disappointed some gentleman from Makerere University. I had not yet joined my bachelor, but I was so good in spiral staircase in doing it. So this man came, for us, we are managers, people you do the work. He could come and shout on you. I think he had a godfather who came, who just brought him to come and do some work. So these people were saying, but Maurice, this man is over making fun of you. Why don't you first test it? Why don't you let him suffer? So when he was over shouting, and their boss had put a condition on him that we need this work by the end of this week. And I was doing the work correctly and the speed which was required, but the gentleman was putting a lot of pressure. So I told him I was sick. That week I did not come. And the guy, knowing that I was sick and he was boasting that he could do the work, after 2 days, he bought a ticket back to Kampala. He also said he was sick. And when he left, that was when I went back and I did the work. So sometimes we need to know how to approach people. We need to know how to talk to these people. Even if you have experience, give room for those who are doing the work to do. You watch where they're going wrong, and then you direct them to do it properly. The reason we are saying this is because the cost of accident is very, very, very serious. Much as you see the normal cost up, but the hidden cost of accident is much more severe than the cost that you see up. The direct cost basically damages to the process, to the damages to the project premises. Maybe if something gets banned and so on, but you can actually also lose your life. That is one of the things. And also the company can actually lose equipment, which worth a lot of money. And also the hospital bills that you're supposed to pay when you're in the hospital. However, we also have indirect costs that we need to look at that should really make, first of all, the company is going to lose a lot of time. And you, the person who is sick, you're also going to lose a lot of time because you will not get money and you're going to make your family to suffer. Now, the company, when something happens like that, sometimes the government will want to try to do some kind of investigation and so on. They lose a lot of time. And then also the production delays. You'll find the work program is delayed and so on. So if you have the heart for the organization, you should make sure you preserve health and safety, both for yourself and the organization. Actually, sometimes you can lose the only expertise that you have, who are supposed to do something. So instead of you being there, the company can stop that. No, we are yet going to get for the expert. That means you will lose a lot of money. You will not be getting money. And also lots of because when there's a lot of accident happening in the company, nobody will actually also think of joining the company. You'll find that the reputation of the organization is completely spoiled. So now, the major challenge we have and what we want to tell you today is that normally people do not report these accidents when they're happening. And the reason they don't report this accident is because of fear. You get it? They tell you, but when you report this, you're going to lose your job. The people start threatening you and so on, because even if someone dies in some site in Uganda, they were getting dead bodies, but nobody talks. Someone fall, they just say a nail has fallen into the water. Normal human being, you say like that, and then tomorrow it will be you. So make sure you report this accident, because when when someone start threatening you that when you report you're going to lose your job, that is not true. It is quite important that you report. And sometimes the threat from your colleague themselves that no, we don't need to report this and ABC. Sometimes we want to keep the good name of the organization, which is actually not real. So how do we best control this accident on site? We are talking on the individual capacity now, because the organization, that one is separate. We are trying to talk how we can best control it ourselves, because it will also give a very bad name for Unabcec when 3 of their graduate trainees die, like the one of Uganda Manufacturers Association in 2015. One died, I think, in Coca-Cola factory, a student who was doing mechanical engineering, and that gave a very, very bad name to Coca-Cola company. The reason was because there was no proper sensitization done on accident and the causes of accident, how they're supposed to prevent it. And that's the reason why we are trying to take a lot of time discussing the issues of accidents. So how do we control it? We make sure we undertake all the safety procedures. If the organization cannot provide for you safety wares, I suggest that you really sacrifice the little money that you have. If there is no provision for it under the arrangement, that you get at least some safety wear for yourself, safety shoes, maybe helmet, and a very good maybe overall, depending on the kind of work that you are going to do. And then also training. Make sure whenever they're doing training for accident, don't ignore, because in the morning, some people are rushing to change. When they're briefing people on accident, when people are for toolbox training, in most cases, people don't tend to attend. They don't put much effort to attend, especially the engineers. And you're one of the engineers, you just said that those are for workers, but actually you can be in much more dangerous position, because for them, when someone has put a loose thing somewhere, he knows it is there. For you, when you go and step on it anyhow, you're going to get the accident yourself. And then effective communication. You need to communicate among yourself. You need to check yourself. You need to tell people. When you see something is wrong with someone, you may think it is like that, but when he actually doesn't also know. So make sure you communicate a lot. And then also good housekeeping. When you go to those places you're staying, make sure you maintain clean environment within you. Even if in your house, make sure there is no snake around, because also snake bite is an accident. And then the working environment, then risk assessment. You must have a degree of assessing that this is bad and this is good. There are guidelines for accident normally on site, and there are standards for how you can prevent accident on site. Actually, there's so many on internet. You keep on going through. Instead of watching pornography sometime on this thing, you need to take this time to reading political issues, and they can actually benefit you a lot. Your future is still ahead. I know politics is important, but let's not engage so much in the political issue. Engage so much in doing something that can actually support your life. You can read through the risk of how best you can avoid accident. And then we have regular inspections of accident. This may be the arrangement within the site, but if you find they are not doing it, or in the factory, you try to propose how accident can best be prevented. Is that now European Union, Japan International Cooperation Agency, even COICA, even US, they have encouraged that every Friday or Saturday, there must be a general housekeeping. Housekeeping and inspection is that you move around, you check the possible risk that can cause accident. You move along, you write, you note all of them down, and then you present them in the meeting, or you take them to the concerned person. Now, at the end of the day, this person will take action against all those things. Now, why should you report when you have seen these things? First of all, it is a legal requirement that you have to keep safe on site. So if anybody who is not keeping safe and is not reporting and is seeing some tendency, something that can easily cause accident, is not reporting, then you are not obeying the legal requirements of site, because it is under legal requirement part 4 of Occupational Health and Safety Act of 2006. And then also, when you report accident, you can actually save life, because someone may be badly off. You may think the person is okay. You don't know where the person is hit. So reporting accident timely can actually save someone's life. So don't be scared by anybody. Even if you see the action, please report. Sometimes we report to avoid escalation of issues. Something may be so minor, but when it happens, if you don't report and the issue is solved, the issue will be escalated. Someone will go somewhere and say, so and so. You know, all these workers go back to their home. Now, when they talk it at home, you'll start hearing the rumor. You start hearing the rumors in the whole district. It goes to the whole country. Before you know it, is on social media. This site has killed so many people. Like one time, it was alleged on Nile Bridge that someone died, but actually we never lost anybody. And also, so it gives a better room for accident investigation, because this accident, when they happen, they need to be investigated. After investigation, the investigation report is written, and the response given to the contractor will come back and save all your life. And then it will also help you have better relationship with the injured person, because I'm injured, I'm telling you to report, you're not reporting because you're fearing what good relationship do you think I can have with you. But when I help you, I report, we can actually have better communication. Let's leave the issue of lack of confidence to report those ones, leave them alone. Now, let's go to the point. On site now, professionally, what do we need as the young trainees? First of all, we should understand that it is most important for us as young engineers to develop our technical capacity. Now, there are certain things that we need to be looking at, not just everything. So many times people start putting their demands to the financial bit of it. In a workplace, depending on what you're aiming at, when you look at all the motivational factor, what motivates people, at first, money was one of the things that motivates people a lot. But now the research has actually shown that money is not a motivation. Money cannot actually motivate. Money is there to be there for you to be satisfied that, yes, I'm getting enough salary, I'm taking care of my family, I'm having this, I'm saving, and so on. It gives you that hope, that entitlement, settlement to concentrate on work. But what motivates you a lot at work is job satisfaction. First of all, you need to love what you're doing. As a very young person, much as I said, there's a system thinking, we need to think of everything. We talk of experience. Now, we have different gifts within the same discipline. Even if in civil engineering, we have very many multidiscipline. We have geotechnical investigation. We have the structural bit of it. We have concrete, which is ignored in most cases. Concrete is one of the most recognized concrete technology. Someone can just take concrete and you specialize and you be a very important person. You can decide to take the structural engineering, you'll be a very important person. You can decide to take highway. So first of all, you need to identify the kind of knowledge you need for your future. Identify what you need. If you know you are good in highway, you want to be in highway. If you have gone in maybe a sector of a road construction, concentrate on those particular things. And if you know you want to be a geotechnical engineer, when you go to that particular area, put your effort so much to the geotechnical part of the work, because that is where you're going to build your career. Even if you're to upgrade, that's where you'll upgrade. Because when you go for something that you do not like, you will never be satisfied. And from nowhere, you'll find yourself buying taxis. You become a taxi driver. You start doing something actually that you don't want. There's so many engineers right now who are not practicing, not because they do not have the opportunity, but because they have chosen a wrong profession for themselves. So many times our parents pushed us to this profession when we are not interested. And I know some of you were forced to apply. You were not interested to join Unabcec. But because the opportunity was there, you were told to apply and you had to join. But always love the decision that you're taking, because that is where your life lies. So identify what you want to be. After identifying what you want to be, concentrate on it. Normally, the student who have been training with me, what I do with them is that I make a rotational, because in that internship, when you're in the university, all those who trained with me benefited in both ways. Because first of all, when you're training with me, you have to earn. During internship, something small that can keep you. And then I make sure I rotate. There are some of students within you here who did internship with me, I'm very sure. This week, when I put you in geotech material, maybe in material for 2 weeks, then I take you to structural people. For 2 weeks, I place you there. Then I take you to surveying 2 weeks. Now, after working for some time, then I see the area where you want to concentrate on most. I let you go there. The purpose of doing that is to basically make you understand all these disciplines, and then you make a choice of what you think you can do best. Because you want something like in so many countries. In Japan, someone knows concrete, and it is that concrete that person knows, and he will be hired for that. Someone knows maybe structural, and it is that particular thing. But in Uganda, someone is in highway, tomorrow is going to water, he's just there. Now, when you try to assess this person's capacity of doing something real, you'll find really there is nothing. And that's how some of you actually lose job. Once unemployment has been advertised, in a CV, you'll find here the person has worked as a water person. You'll find the person was a surveyor. You'll find, yes, it is good for someone who does not understand, but what productive is this person? I told you, people are now thinking of the quality of experience and how updated the experience you have. In so many construction industry, you now get young people. All people, yes, someone has participated in constructed a two-storage building somewhere, but what was his personal contribution in this two-storage building? You take someone who has completed university. Because he had a god's father, he was put to be assistant district engineer somewhere. Now, this assistant district engineer leaves, he becomes a district engineer. After that, he gets a very higher post without participating on site, without undertaking some very serious construction work. And this person is calling himself an engineer. And I do not blame the engineering system of Uganda, but I really suggest the registration process has to be properly verified, because in other countries like Japan or in other like US, if you're to be registered, you get a site. When you get a site and then you apply to the engineers registration board that I'm going to this site, I'll be working on this site, this is my position, and I intend to register with this project. Now from here, they assigned you a supervisor, and this supervisor will be coming on site. You show him what you have done, your personal contribution. You tell him what you have done. Now, at the end of the project, now You write the report, submit to him. Now, after submitting, when he said it is okay, you can now submit it now to the mail, to the board. Now the board will go and interview both you, the supervisor, and interview you, the person who was participating. You brief them, you talk to them. It is not about testing. This is now, it's about experience. It's about discussion. We are all up there. It is about discussion. It's not just a matter of calling me, teasing me. How did you do this? No, that is not the case. Because even if I'm to explain it to you, you might have not done what I've done. You will not understand it. But now for us, you have to just sit somewhere, write a report of what you claim you have done, when without investigating your actual contribution, because someone can sit with you, give you everything, and you just have to submit. You go and present your coach properly, and you're a registered engineer, and that is the fault that we are getting right now. Someone is registered, the building is collapsing. He was employed because now the criteria is saying we want registered engineers. He was employed and the house is broken because he could not analyze. And that is the problem. And the real people practicing engineer in Uganda, actually those who are doing the real work, unfortunately, most of them are not registered. And it's because of this kind of frustration that we are looking at. But I just wish the ERB try to step up and try to change their registration process and try to make it further deeper. So go on site and concentrate on site on what you want. Now, how do we learn on site? Now, we learn on site when we are new people in a profession, first of all, by being simple. I gave you a story of where I left a graduate from Makerere University and I was not a bachelor degree holder, to run away from site because he proved himself higher and he was not willing to learn. He just came to supervise, but wrongly. So make yourself so simple. Go and ask questions. First, leave this degree to remain here. You will come and pick this degree after you have gained a comprehensive experience. Go to this person who has finished the craft, who has finished the junior, who has not gone anywhere, but he has been doing this work. Understand how this thing is done, because your target is two. You have to understand a professional way of doing things, how it is designed. That one there, it is easy for you to get because you can get it from someone you can easily relate and talk with. Like in the office, you sit with a designer, he tells you, but how do you get this knowledge? How an iron bar is bent and how it is tied? How much as you see it in the design that this is how you're supposed to alter, but when you go on the site, you see the arrangement of the iron bar, it is quite different. Now you sometimes ask, this one is running like this, how do you read it maybe on this paper? When you're a mechanical engineer, how is the arrangement of this? Yes, you know, in the vehicle, this is how the engine is supposed to be assembled, and this is how it's supposed to be. But you'll find someone has the best way of doing it. Now, how did you do it? And after if you have done it, wait there and test whether it is really okay. You will have learned a very serious thing. That is number one. Two, there is what we call community of practice. Now, community of practice is a management matter. It is a management term, really used so much in management. Now, community of practice is that you will go, you have people of your profession who have different understanding of things. Now, so many people actually now learn through community of practices. You sit together, you'll find I'm very good in surveying, but I do not know anything in geotechnical engineering. My friend is very, very good in structural engineering, but he doesn't know anything. But our interest is to learn all these things. Even when you're a student, you actually left that opportunity. How do we sit together to make sure that three of us all learn AutoCAD? 3 of us all learn structural. 3 of us all learn geotechnical investigation. We learn it through what is called the community of practices. After the time of site or after the weekend, utilize that material time to sit together with someone that you know can understand you better, and you request this person to take you through what he has done. If you cannot learn it as a group. But for us, when we finished, 4 of us were together because we were in different professions. We were teaching each other. We know sometimes we can arrange, instead of going, people are saying they're going to drink, they're going to beach. For us, we meet with the laptop. That because one of us wanted to learn AutoCAD 3D, Civil 3D, and I was very good in Civil 3D. However, I never knew Procon, how I could operate. I also wanted to learn Procon, but he knew how to learn Procon, to use Procon. One of our friends was also very, very good in C++ because we wanted to use, and MATLAB, we wanted to use it for certain things. So we were meeting and we discussed, when someone has discussed today, and then tomorrow someone discussed, and this is how you actually learn things. Because the system of education in Uganda, I'm being very honest with you, is extremely good that we take advantage of, and we end up learning nothing. Nobody should tell you the system of education of Uganda is bad. The system is very, very bad, but the teaching is extremely good. The set standard, the set system is extremely bad because in our system, you'll find they actually overteach. But in this other people's system, they do not overteach. You're given an opportunity to learn something by yourself, and you have to come and present it to the lecturer. But in Uganda, when there is no lecturer inside the classroom, you'll find someone is rushing. Oh, lecturer is not there. Like when you go to Chambogo, you find them outside in that brick of the compound. You find people are seated there because lecturer is actually not there. You go to Makerere, you find people are seated, people are on the lawn because lecturer is not there. But this is not the case. In these other people's country, so long as it is time for class, even if during holiday, it is you to do, so long as you have taken that, this is my project, I'm doing ABCD. It is you to teach yourself. You're only given an assignment to assess you. The lecturer does not care. He only comes, even in Harvard University, there is no much teaching, but we have too much teaching in Uganda. So where there's too much teaching, we only depend on the lecturer. Now, how do you trust the knowledge of this lecturer? And how do you trust the book that this person has written? Because, by the way, many books are now being banned, engineering books. They are being stopped. Other countries are stopping because they are developing new books. For us, we are yet concentrating on the book which was written in 1970 something, where so-and-so discovered these things have gone extreme. And you should take advantage of the internet now that we have. Don't use your internet for doing something which is not productive. There are very many new updates. There are very many journals. I actually have, I'm thinking of when I come back to Uganda, I'm going to plead with the administrators of these universities to make students have accesses to most journal paper, because it is a mandatory now. All the university at least have given access for the journals to their students, where people ResearchGate, things like even this one, which are a little bit cheaper, Concrete Technology. There's so many research journals, but for us, we actually do not have them in Uganda. For us, we still concentrate on the book on the library, which were written in 1960s, 1950s. And we need to have updated technology. So let's embrace the ideas of community of practice, because it improves you. Much as the organization will not see the benefit, but actually community of practice supports organization much better than the way it supports you, but you also gain a lot from it. The reason why you should not so much concentrate on organization when you're thinking of community of practice, that you're developing your own capability, you're enhancing your own technical skill, which will basically help you, but not the organization, because tomorrow you're leaving this organization. When you have all this idea, you have the best practice, you have this idea that you got from community of practice, you're in position of setting up a very good organization which can actually outcompete the organization you are working for. Now, the giant organization as ranking, the smallest organization are going higher because of the strategic thinking. Because you have improved your idea, that means you can think strategically than the company, because this company are still used to their traditional method, which is not now acceptable by the current level of development we need in the world and the kind of skill that we need. So I think we need to have some, I don't know, because whenever we are having meeting, whenever I'm giving career guidance, normally after talking for like 1 hour, we can have a break for like 5 minutes. And then we shall have question and session. And then we shall talk more. But these are basically the most important things that I wanted us to discuss. If we are not going for break, I think I can proceed. Asimwe, can we first go for 5 minutes break or I can proceed? What is the name of our moderator?
Hello.
Yes, Namia.
Yes, let's proceed, please.
Okay. Thank you. Now, that was how you can acquire skill when you're on site. Now, there are certain personalities that you have to develop if you are to be a very good engineer. And I'm a little bit sad to mention this because I've disagreed with so many engineers on site and on so many issues. The issue of integrity. Let me give you my reason of valuing integrity so much. The only thing I had by then before crossing to the infrastructure and planning and management to MBA was basically engineering was the only thing I had. And I took it as my own. And one thing I've realized actually in all my time of practice is that people actually cheat in engineering industry because they don't know. And that is very true. There is too much corruption in construction industry because people do not actually know the impact. Now, if you're someone who has done some work, who has ever designed before, if you're someone who has ever done some work with your hand before, and if you're someone who has experienced the disadvantage of someone in your site compromising with the quality of material, you cannot risk with your integrity. Look at it now. You're a professional person. You are this age, whatever age you are, you're practicing this profession, and the interest is actually not you alone. You must make people appreciate this engineering profession. So engaging on issues that will interfere with your integrity on site is something very, very, very bad. I better resign from the site than getting into the corruption which always happen on site, especially when it comes to compromising with the quality of material. I don't want to give you example of what I went through on how I fought corruption because these are very sensitive. I fought them in a very sensitive project and with very high profile people, very high profile, highly placed. And God willingly, God helped me and I won and were able to produce things the way. I cannot tell you the projects and I cannot tell you the people, but I can tell you if you want to be a very good person, first of all, sometimes it is good to be tough when it goes to issues to do with the integrity, because that is the only thing that will now define you. At least, even if you will not get anything, I've been on a very, very good projects from the time I started knowing things. If it is a house, a building, I was always on a very, very good building. But Of course, most of my money had been using them for supporting maybe some people in technical education because I wanted to support this. Then some of my money I've been using in facilitating the sensitization of even the university student. But I do not have much money. I do not have much money that maybe someone has been working on this kind of project. Not because I could not have them. I could have all the, I had all the opportunities. I could have had them, but now, what of my integrity? Because it is much more painful being in a project and after 30 years, the project you have worked on is no more, and you really know that the money you got from there, you used it for doing something, especially use it for building a house that you're living in, and there people got accident, 300 people have died on that project because you cheated the money. And 3 of you are living in a house in the expense of 300 people who have actually died in the accident where you cheated. During construction, so many houses have died, have collapsed in Kampala, and so many people died in those houses. And the reason is not basically the design alone. Yes, the design could also be there, but basically interfering with the construction specification and with the design, because the design is here. Someone comes to you because he has money and he want to do ABC. I disagreed with the minister who requested me to supervise for him a house. And I told him, if you really want me to do this, then I'm going to leave the project for you. I'm ready to supervise for you this project freely. Use the money that you wanted to use to pay me for doing this work that you're supposed to do, because you wanted us to compromise on something. So sometimes defending your integrity is very, very, very important. And how do you defend all this integrity? If you do not have fear of God in you, when you go to these workplaces, sometimes you're easily tempted. So make sure, regardless in the place you're placed in, try to be a little bit closer to God. You have to be prayerful. I'm not mentioning for you any religion. You can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian of any denominations, but your communication, your closeness with God saves you a lot, because if you're close to God, you cannot so much enter in this kind of thing. And I want you to be the ambassador of fighting corruptions on site and bad quality of work on site when you go. When you see something is not, we talked about the quality of experience that you're going to have. What quality of experience are you going to have on site? You don't need to take everything that you have got on site. Sometimes we talked of culture, team culture. You also take yours. You remove some bad one you have. You take good ones and you build on yours, and also your good ones you take and you give them the other side, so that you can build a very good team culture. So let's fight this issue of corruption, of integrity, and so on. So integrity cut across so many things. Actually, it is an integration of so many things. Also being honest. They ask you, hey, Mugisa, where are you? I'm on site. The owner of the site is also on site, when you're actually not on site. Now, how do you expect this person to trust you with this next project? He's calling you, where are you? And yes, he has left you to supervise project. You're not there. Where are you? And I'm on site. The person is calling you when you're on site. So try to be as honest as possible. If you're not on site, someone is calling you, tell the person, I've moved out of site because of a problem, but I will get back maybe after this period of time. Now, this one helps you in building trust. It helps you in getting more customer, because when you start with this one customer is going to recommend you to other people, because when you lie him today, will tell you, yeah, this guy is good, he can build well, but he's not trusted. And people are very, very, very skeptical in dealing with people who are not trusted. So honesty is also very, very important. And then your moral behavior. Your moral behavior also matters a lot. How you trade yourself in the community. You don't need to be complicated, very simple, but very principled. with yourself sometime. It is important when someone calls you that you're a tough person, but when you're very principled yourself, there are certain behaviors you don't need to engage yourself in them so much. Try to be very responsible. What people take you for is what you take yourself for. In all the places, in all the meeting I attend these days, I'm actually the youngest person. So people keep asking themselves, how did you get here? How is your background or practice? When I was in Uganda, I was always placed on a highly profile project of the government. Yet there are so many engineers. So someone start asking, how do you get this? You're young and there are very many people placed up there. How do you get this opportunity? It's because the way you take yourself. When you're talking to treat people in differently. When you at low level, talk to them, but let their other behavior not interfere with your own integrity and with your own moral behavior. Take yourself, trade well. If something is not going well with you, you just tell them, I think I do not disagree with this, and be very principled. Now, when you disagree, let you not be compromised to change your mind because of financial benefit. That is very, very dangerous. The worst thing you can do on site when you become a supervisor is by receiving money from a contractor or a client, or from a contractor or a consultant for the first time. When you receiving money is the worst thing you can do for yourself, because you can be in good terms today, but you got money. Who knows what happens tomorrow? Because with the contractor, you will always disagree. With consultant, you will always disagree, and you have been getting money from them. So giving you money for the first time will shut you down. I can tell you a live experience. We went and took over a project which was not proceeding. There was another ministry undertaking this project, but because they failed to do some other things, we were requested by the president that we take over that project so that we do it very fast. So for us, we went and took one component. But now, this contractor, this consultant, and the client had already developed their team culture, because the contractor had his own organizational culture, the consultant has his own organizational culture, the consultant, and then the client adopted to the culture of both the client representative. So all of them were dancing to a tune which was not acceptable by our organizational culture for the company I was working with. So when we came for the first time, the contractor thought it was as usual. The first day, the second day, I want to take you here, I want to take you here. Of course, some staff never knew. I was in charge, I was the resident engineer. Then I had to sit my staff down. I tell them, no, this is not how things operate. If you're going to supervise someone, you need to be an administrative person, and there's a way an administrative person handles himself. So I became a little bit tough. So with time, we started taming contractor to adopt our organizational culture, and at the end he realized what we were telling him to do was much more cheaper, because he had to keep these people in the same process he started before, and it was very costly for him. But for us, doing the right thing, it will save him from financial implication and also save him from the quality, because now if the staff knows that even if they do wrong thing, there's no problem. They will always do wrong thing, and you'll find at the end you have a messed up project, and you'll find a lot of money actually tied, and the money is not paid to you. But when you do the work correctly, the money is not is not. So the way you handle yourself matters a lot, and on this line, I'm really emphasizing on it that try to hold yourself well. When you're going to club, for those who go to club, I don't stop you, because maybe it is part of your life, but know the kind of club you go to. If you drink with a particular group, you now need to start identifying what kind of people you drink with. if you go and play something somewhere, just know where you can now play, because you need to start associating with people who can give you idea. I love people, all group of people, but the kind of discussion I have with people matters a lot. When I get you, I know this is the person I have to bring up. I know the kind of discussion I must have with you. When I get this kind of person, I know, but it cannot make me to sacrifice to go and start also misbehaving on the street, to run with, with bottles, with things that people are ramming. Maybe I'm also striking for people. I'm also protesting against this. No, you need to handle yourself a little bit professionally as a professional person. So, and that is what will give you value. When you're going to church, you go to church, you come back, you meet the people you can meet, you come back home, there's a kind of people and the kind of conversation you have now, both on phone and whatever mode, must now change. Because you're trading now, it is a transactional period for you. And when you don't transit well, you will always have problem. You must change with all the processes. And we also need to understand this is not profession, because people do not understand it. Why people so much get engaged in reckless life, in corruption, they lose their integrity, is because they do not know the reason why human beings have been created. Now, you have been created, you were born, and after being born, you started working, they started sending you, go and bring this, go and bring this. When you grew up, you had to start studying. After studying, you have to start working, and you will work tirelessly until when you die, because even if you retire from government, you still have to continue working. So you just know your entire life, the responsibility all belongs to you. When you waste it, you're going to waste it. And we should understand that there's kind of disease that really exists. I don't need to talk about this, but I can talk particularly for AIDS, because when you go to site, that is one of the most risky thing. I was trying to dodge it. One of the most risky thing that you need to avoid, because in your profession, when you get it, you're going to get frustrated. You spent a lot of years in studying, and you're going to be weak, and you end up dying early. And most engineers actually nowadays who have AIDS die a little bit early. They get it in the time where they really now have money, and they have to enjoy the money. The money is there. At the same time, they're getting weak professional, they resort to drinking and they die. So when you start drinking, sometimes it leads you to something else, which is not good. It may result into death or frustration. However, we need to help other people a lot. We need to be proactive in helping others and so on. Even the poor, that's how we can get our blessing. Because someone was actually saying last time that when we ask the reason why God created certain things, and we ask the reason why God created us, we cannot get the exactly answer, but the answer is actually within us. When you look at water, God created water, but water has no benefit for itself as water. So why do you want to take so much pleasure in yourself for yourself? God created water. God knows fish has to stay in this water, and this fish has to live to feed other living creatures. Now, God knows that human beings have to drink this water. All living things have to drink this water, including plants have to take water. That was why God created water, not water for itself, not water for water itself. God knows that the water has to cool the earth. So water has no benefit for water itself, but they understand. It understands the chemical composition within itself. That's why the water does not separate. When you pour water, water will fight until when it gets another water, because they're always together. If it is if you pour water in a dry place, the water has to dry, because it's trying to look where it can get for another. It has to go down. And when you look at the tree, God created tree. Tree has no benefit for tree itself. God created tree because God knew the animals that are supposed to feed on this tree. God knows there are animals that are supposed to take shade under this tree. God knows oxygen is coming from this tree to take care of other animals. You see animals like lions chasing another animal, not because they want to chase, but because that is how they're designed to live. Now, as human being, if every creature has been designed to take care of another creature, okay, now what are you doing as you to also help other creatures from growing? So you should understand that your pleasure is not about yourself alone. So many people ask me why I'm so much concentrating in supporting the issues of skill. I spend my own money. We had a vehicle that I had acquired myself, but cheaply someone gave it to me because he wanted. The time came, we were moving in so many technical schools, trying to sensitize the student in technical colleges the benefit of the profession that they have taken and what they are supposed to go through in order to escape from the dangerous bridge that they have. It is very, very, very dangerous when you're from technical school. It is quite tempting because you start getting money in an age where you cannot make a decision, especially those from junior. And balancing those money can be a little bit difficult. Some of us had a very good career guidance with a discipline. That is why we managed to reach at this level. And we have seen so many, almost half of my classmates actually died because the life they were living was really not good. Then those ones who have remained, they now come to you, please, if you have some small site, show me. So at that lower level. So I looked at all these things. I said, no, there is a need to stand firm and also support others with this system of education. And two, not only because you see, I have very few active years to stay on this earth, yet we need a lot of infrastructure to be built. Now, very big project takes about 5 years. So assuming I'm working for 60 years, that means I'm only going to work on 12 projects. Not only in my country alone, that means this one includes also other countries that I'm working in. That means I have very little contribution. So if I don't make others grow, that means I'm going to die with all the knowledge I have. I'm going to let my country to just be like that. So it is quite important. Some of these things we are doing not because we are interested in doing, not because we want to show up. We want to bring others so that we can. Because even you, if you're working for 60 years from now, if you to retire at the age of 60, right now you're about 20 years or 23 years. Now you're left with maybe about 35 years, 35 to 38 years to retire from government or from any working position. Now, if you're taking a 5-year project, road project, that means you're only going to work on about 6 projects. And after 6 projects, you have to die. So why should you be selfish that I should be in this profession alone? Only 6 projects, yet we have so many roads in Uganda that are not yet worked on. We have so many mega projects that are supposed to be built. So how do we support ourselves as professional people to ensure that we raise some people so that if I'm to produce, you'll also raise my children. You just know, yes, Maurice was here, but this is also his kid. You'll also take, so we need to support each other within this profession to ensure that we grow together. Let's not be so mean within this profession. You cannot finish this profession. You cannot finish because more is still coming. The time is coming where your knowledge will be outdated. The experience I have right now will be outdated. So when I go to work, they just say, but what is the quality of your experience that you have right now? What is the quality and how updated is your experience? Because I'm not updating. So I make sure I keep updating. And also as I'm updating mine, I make sure I also raise others. That's why when I come back, actually, I'm trying to make connection of making sure that I get in contact with so many universities so that when we have a graduate training like this, we get an option. Then when we have these contacts, we just say, okay, we have how many universities in Japan? How many do we have in China? Right now, I have about, I think, 17 universities. Okay, when they advertise for the scholarship, I said, okay, fine. These are the students, these are their telephone number, these are their email address. Let's spread all the scholarship to this student and we give them recommendation and they are taken. I can even get the list myself as you apply and forward them to this university. And this is how we can build ourselves. We are really behind, very, very behind. An engineer born in Uganda, studied in Uganda, worked in Uganda can boast. But when you're born in Uganda, raised in Uganda, you start experiencing different life in other places, how things are done. I was in Europe. I know how things are done in Europe. I went to US, both South and North. I know how things are done. I thought Australia were behind, but when I went to Australia, I know how these things are done. I've seen how things are done in Asia, and I've seen how things are done in Africa. In summary, I've moved in all the continent, at least in the world, and I know how these things are done. So now, me being so selfish when we are actually behind, not even 3% of what people are doing here. If you can see a 17-year-old person designing a serious software, real software. Now you go to Uganda, someone is asking a 33 years old man that what is the experience that you have. He still wants you to get experience. It's really nonsense. So we really very much welcome this kind of opportunity. Let's take advantage of them. And when we take advantage of them, let's not do an action which is discouraging to both the organizers like Unabcec and something that can both discourage the student who are supposed to come and train. Even if we cannot receive some of the things that we are expecting, let's embrace this, let's praise it, and let's always mobilize. Whenever Unabcec has applied annually, as advertised annually, and that we want students for graduate and so on, you make sure you recommend the student, you tell the student so that they can join. Let's not allow this training to stop with us alone. We try to encourage it, and we see it is coming to 6 o'clock now, session for question and answers. So in brief, if I'm to talk about the experiences in civil engineering field, general engineering field, construction management, I will talk a lot. I can actually finish the whole day because I've been doing it before, and I do not need a slide to talk about it because I experienced it myself. I was a helper, potterman, I was a gang leader, I was a trade foreman, I was a foreman, I became a project engineer, I was a contract manager, and I also work as a resident project engineer for several projects. So I know this thing, nobody else can deceive me when it comes to the construction industry because I have the experience for both the management and the practical bit of it. So I wish you success as you go to start, but I will always be available. There was a time where my number actually was known almost by all the students in other universities. And I'm very happy at least this year, about 7 students are coming to Japan that are connected through scholarship. And as you come for this training, we keep knowing ourselves. But let's try as much as possible, much as we practice in Uganda, let's also try to seek for scholarship outside Uganda so that we have different experience. Because it is really a little bit different, really different. When you go to other universities, in other country, it is a simple because they don't take things. But when you go to a university where things are done practically, where they believe in technology, you really get a very good bit of it. Though when you go to Uganda and you misplace yourself, you can misuse all the knowledge, but you make sure you always put yourself in a position where you can practice some of this knowledge you're getting. Thank you so much for the opportunity on Unabcec, and thank you so much, graduate student, for listening to me. I think here I pause to be continued by Namea. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Morris. That was wow. Even some of us who are already in the field have surely learned a lot from you. And I'm sure our graduate trainees have a lot of questions they would like to be answered. For me, I've noted a few points. One is you have to learn your organizational culture so that you can align well with it. I've also noted that attitude is very important. The attitude you have while executing your job affects what you'll get out of it. And I've also learned that we should focus and not get swayed This particularly would go out to the female engineers. I am a female engineer and I can tell you I can identify with that. And I'd like to tell it's not worth it. There's nothing more important than your career. Trust me. All that money you see, you'll make it. And you'll make even more than what they are offering you to compromise your integrity. And I've also learned that safety is very important. So I would love to also give a chance to our graduate trainees to raise their questions, but we are going to do it in an orderly manner. Here's how we're going to do it. You guys are going to raise your hands, and then Mike is going to select one person at a time to unmute their microphone. So you can go ahead, raise your hands, and then Mike will be able to select one by one. You unmute, you ask your question, engineer will draw a response to it, and then we proceed like that. So let's start. Mike, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. We can start.
I see some people raising their hands, so I think you can take over and we proceed. Mike?
Yes, hello. Kenneth Kaunda, you're unmuted. Please speak.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everyone, and a very good evening to Mr. Morris in Japan. My name is Kenneth Kaunda, and I want to, I don't know if it is to clarify or to ask some piece of advice. I did my degree from India in a state called Gujarat. It was on a scholarship through the Ministry of Education and Sports. So when I came back, last year in September, I've been facing some challenges with a few construction companies in Uganda. Actually, a few weeks ago, I'd gone to seek some graduate training with ROCO, and I was so disappointed actually, because upon presenting my documents, they told me, we are sorry we can't help you because your university is not among those universities we offer graduate training opportunities. I was a bit embarrassed, and I really felt so bad. I was like, why? I don't think studying from India is a crime, because if you tell me that you're only offering training opportunities to students who have been in Uganda or who have studied from Uganda, then it's a bit unfair. The manager told me, I understand your point, but unfortunately we can't help you. Actually, that was before we got the shortlist from Unabcec. So when the results came out, when the shortlist came out with Unabcec, the first time I wasn't successful also, because Unabcec had informed me that my grades were in the Indian grading system and not the Ugandan grading system. However, I was very happy when they asked me to appeal. I did appeal and they had to reconsider me. So for some of us who have studied from outside, we are facing some of these challenges. You go to companies, they tell you, you know what, you did your degree from India, your university is not among those we are taking in, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how you can help us. That is my biggest question. Thank you so much.
Let me just interrupt briefly before you respond, Engineer Odrua. I'd like to kindly request our participants or our graduate trainees to try not to mention names of companies or individuals for the sake of this webinar. Thank you very much. Engineer Odrua, please proceed.
Thank you so much for that question. I very much understand your question and I understand your position. Unfortunately, I don't know the university that you had been in India. But one thing I can tell you is that there's so many reasons why a company may choose not to. I'm beginning with a bad point, but which is not very bad for you. You should not take it so badly. We do have very many universities coming up in Uganda. Likewise, we have very many universities coming out also in other countries. One time I was in an interview. Company normally calls me, different companies call me to sit on the panel. I sit on many panels, and I'm a board member of about, I think, 4 engineering institutions in Kampala. So when we sat, they said, okay, we are not going to take students from IU, we are not taking students from Deje, we are not taking students from UCU, we shall pick few. I said, what is the reason? So we sat, I said, okay, let's first, since we have time, let's discuss. They told me the reason they're not taking students from Deje is because Deje people, they admit someone fresh from O-level on a weekend program. And now on this weekend program, a student is occupied from morning up to sunset. Now this student, after going back, does not even bother to check the book. And you will find the value of the engineering is actually when other universities, the student studies from Monday to Friday, even sometimes Saturday and Sundays, still they do not exhaust the syllabus. So I made an appointment with Ndeje University. I went to understand exactly how their program is, how their engineering program is, the part-time program. I understood it, and for that particular time, they had told us not to. Of course, you told us not to mention them, but let me just give an example because this one is Uganda. I need to, so that it can also make some of us change, like in other university, how we structure. Now, I asked them why IU, why, no, not IU, why Kampala International University, KIU. That one there, it said it doesn't need to explain. They are not just taking for some reasons that their company faced with IU student. Then the reason they gave for UCU student was that UCU, the first, second year is so much on the religious teaching. But now on the third year where they're supposed to teach professional, they also give option. If you're taking structures, you don't take highway. If you don't take highway, you don't take structure, which is actually normal, like in other outside university, but you are normally aligned. So they were saying they feel some of these students, their program have to be adjusted. Otherwise, it is not also so good because most course unit done in other universities, some of them actually do not do it. So now, by this I'm meaning that companies normally, when you submit your application, they sometimes look at the kind of university and they investigate more about the university you have been admitted in, whether being within the country or outside the country. It has been a norm that there are few universities in Uganda where when you apply, they can easily take you with all the hopes and so on. But I really want to say that where we are going with engineering now, people should not start considering paying attention to some of these things so much. Otherwise, whether you get a student from Chambugu, whether from Makerere, whether from where, when they come out from university, their understanding is almost the same, though we encourage these universities to really try to update the way they teach. I'm not blaming the university and I'm not blaming at the same time the company, but I think there's a general improvement that we have to make both in these universities and also the companies. I think some of you are aware that I chased students from Makerere University from one of the projects that I was in charge of. But students from these universities, they were saying about I left them there because they were actually performing well. The reason I chased this student from site and I called their director, I called the dean that they should not be brought sent to us again, was because I told you every week I will allocate, if you take in material, structures, concrete, then actual road section surveying and so on. So now we had about 17 trainees. Now, these are 4 students from Makerere University who are sent to us, but they had their own life. People are learning things here, they're explaining things for them, they're on WhatsApp. Yet for me, when you're working, there are certain things, especially if I'm given a directive of supervising you, there are certain things which I know they're bad, I don't like them. Now, when I tell the supervisor to talk to them, when I'm not there or when some big person is not there, because we normally tell their age mates to give them, to teach them, because these people, they know, because like the student who was, the person who was teaching them in material was someone who was very experienced, but he went back because he joined after higher diploma. So he went back for his degree. He had just also finished. So they saw this guy as the guy was their age mate. They started telling this guy, for us, we are managers. We are not interested in your work. When we go to site, we shall be managers. So the first time I called them, I talked to them. I thought they will change, but they continued. Their behavior, their culture had started affecting the student from these other universities. So I had to request them to leave site with immediate effect.
Orientation.
So it is not about the university, and it is not about the student of Makerere University, but it was a particular behavior of those students, and not actually all of them, because one of them came and said one of them was the one inciting them, because he was a student of, he was the son of the minister. But the 3 decided to follow the son of the minister because they thought, I will spare the son of the minister, and yet I could actually not. So there are so many things that make people make choices. So for all of you who are going to apply to study outside Uganda, make sure the university that you're applying in has a little bit of recognition. You try to check the ranking of this university. The informations are actually online. Try to check the ranking. And when you're joining some of the university in Uganda, even if not because of the organization, but try to look at the course unit and what can benefit you as a professional person. Because it is also not good when you try to learn something from site, but you do not have the class background, how some of these things are done. I'm basically giving general advice, but it is good that Unabcec is here. They will take the concern and try to disseminate some of this information to the contractor. At the same time, those who have the capacity of communicating to the university's administration like me, I will also engage. We need to, I told you it is about system thinking. It is not now about looking at one thing. When we are only trying to improve this and we are not improving that, when we improve with the contractor and we are not improving with the university, that means we are looking at one system. We need to view at the system holistically. I think, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Engineer Odrua. So what we are going to do, Mike is going to be picking, taking 5 questions at a time, then Engineer Odrua responds. Some of you can write your questions in the chats and we'll be able to pick them up. And even those who have questions for Unabcec, the ED will be given a chance to answer them. So Mike, let's proceed.
Okay, thank you. Someone called Mwalim, please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Morris, and thank you so much, Unabcec, for this great opportunity. My question is, I don't know whether it applies because we were told not to mention companies, but my question is general. It was like, I wanted you to explain more or elaborate more which companies are affiliated to Unabcec. Yes, that was just my concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. The question has been received and noted. It will be answered by the ED. Nkwasibwe Wilbur, please unmute and ask.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to ask about the period which the training will take, so that we can prepare in advance, and in what time frame should we expect contacts from Unabcec or other companies that might give us graduate training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. The question has been noted. Drasiku Cyrus, please unmute and ask.
Hey, great.
Hello.
Yes, hi Cyrus, we can hear you. Please ask your question.
Yes. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be part of this meeting and sharing. I want to thank engineer for the inspirational sharing he has done to us. I really don't have any technical issue, but I just want to request through you to him that whether it's possible to, it will be possible to access his contact, and maybe we can chat more on a personal level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cyrus. Let me get the second last question from Gerard Namayo. Please unmute and ask.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we
thank you,
can hear you.
thank you, Unabcec, for giving me this opportunity. I'm a mechanical engineer who graduated from Chambago University, and my question is, what are the chances of being retained by the company that I would go to do my training? Thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. Your question has been noted and will be answered by the ED or Engineer Morris. Then the last question for this session is from Isaac Kakunguru.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Morris, for the presentation. Now, my question was, you talked about an interesting topic in occupational health and safety. Now, sir, as asking, I have like 2 internationally recognized qualifications in it. I have one with NEBOSH and then one with ECITB, and then a certificate from an institution of health and safety. Now, I have a diploma in electrical engineering. Now, my question was, how relevant are these qualifications to me? Because there's a colleague I asked some time, and he told me it is almost a waste of time, because most of the organization would want their health and safety officers to be what? Mostly attached to the environment. So that my question was, what benefits would it give to me as an electrical engineer? And yeah, that was a question I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isaac. The question has been noted. Madam Namia, I think we can answer those, and then we shall take another round of 5.
Yes, some of them were Unabcec questions. So I think let Engineer Odra first answer the ones relevant to him.
Thank you. I only have 2 questions that I can answer. The first one from Isaac. Isaac, the training you did is very relevant to, first of all, you, the person who has done it, because you are able to identify the hazardous thing around you, and you're able to train some of your colleagues that you're working with. Not only that, there are so many plants that we have Isimba, the Isimba plant, which is currently working, and they actually have a safety engineer in it. We have so many projects, electrical, mechanically related or electrical related that they're working on, but not only that. The moment you have a qualification like internationally recognized, you can also work on so many projects. We have very, very, very few people in Uganda who have trained under very recognized company in health and safety. So do not be discouraged. One thing I can tell you that on this earth, we have very discouraging people and we have very encouraging people. Whatever thing you do, you shouldn't be discouraged by someone when actually you also know that it is important. To save time, I can tell you that that person who advised you is a very discouraging person, and I don't think you should go to him for the same advice again. I only encourage you, if you have the opportunity, you should actually take more. I wish I was in Uganda. I will actually discourage that person who discouraged you myself by putting you in a very good site where he will see you working well and taking good care of health and safety on site. My contact, I don't know whether it is the ED will reply on my contact. I have it. I have no problem with giving it, but you see, I one time participated in giving career guidance to students in Kenya. I was hired by the authorities of Kenya to talk to students, but students started calling me to start accusing the organizations to me. You know, these people here that are doing us like this, and I felt it was not good for me. I think ED will give it my contact to you people, but with caution what you're supposed to. If it is on personal growth, I have no problem. That's where I'm interested in so much. If you want, I'm a professional guidance to so many people, and I'm grooming so many people, and I've made so many go higher. Others are already going higher than me. Then that is what makes me proud. But on some other things, I think she will give you the contact with caution. So these are the two questions I can answer. The rest are actually Unabcec's question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Engineer Morris. There are some questions we have in the chat. There's someone who's asking, we have so many people appreciating what you've given them, the advice, saying you're very resourceful. I'm sure you can read them. And indeed, we've learned a lot from you. But we have someone asking, Nyacho Bena, thanks for the discussion, but I would love to know how one can fight female harassment. I think let's get that from a male engineer's point of view. And then I'm going to give you two more. Another one is saying, I would like to know if as a quantity surveyor, I can upgrade into structural engineering. Then the third one is I would also like to ask about upgrading. Would you advise someone to do a master's immediately after bachelor's or after working and gaining experience? Engineer Odra, let's answer those three questions for now.
Sexual harassment, I never wanted to talk about it today because when I start talking, it makes me so sad and it makes me talk so much about it. It is quite unfortunate that our site that we work in, we have so many categories of people. And in most cases, we have more men than female, and men tend so much to, not only by the way sexual harassment, some of the causes of accident on site are also fight that the hatred is because of the quarrel that start because people are fighting for the few ladies that they have on site. But as I was saying, you, the lady yourself, the way you handle yourself on site matters a lot. The way you take yourself, how you present yourself also attracts the kind of something that leads to sexual harassment on you. First of all, we talked of integrity. Men normally approach ladies based on the way they handle themselves. If you handle yourself correctly, where you're not so principled, you also receive what you deserve based on the kind of your behavior. But I will encourage, yes, it is true that sometimes some men can push and put you under a very fixed condition where you have no options of doing other things. And others, they can actually organize a trip where you have no option than to give up. But I was telling you, where you see a sign of something not pure, sometimes it is important that you quit the job than remaining in the job. But apart from that, there are all legal procedures on site of bringing these things to book. We have, we talked about this, we have grievance redress mechanism. And the main purpose of initiating that was basically to cap up the issue of sexual harassment. It has been so much on site. So if you're in a company that has a fully established grievance redress mechanism with a very good committee, when someone is making a move, of course, I know you ladies, you have a method of warning those guys and so, but now when they're over pushing, I think it is much important that you report the issue to the concerned people, to the committee. But if you see no changes where this person is in charge and has control, sometimes it is always good to leave those kind of environment than proceeding with those kind of environment, because you don't know what is going to be, and it's very, very, very dangerous. It's not only the ladies alone, but when you're a man, you're in the same workplace and you're dating in the same office, you become useless. Take a situation where this person uses you and dumps you. How will you take away that? It will affect your performance, first of all. It will affect your productivity. You do not have voice, and also you lose self-esteem. You can't express yourself freely. So try as much as possible to not engage yourself in relationship, especially when you're with the person on the same side and you see this person is doing something which is weird on you. I think from that point of view, that is what I can answer you, lady. I will talk to you a lot. If you will get my contact, I think you will. I have so many ladies who have ever called me when they're facing the same kind of problem, and I've helped them to the extreme where some big people actually ended up losing their job because I know the procedures on how to approach them. And the issue of from quantity surveying, whether I can upgrade to structural engineering. As I was telling you, there are people who have got themselves fixed within a profession actually they don't like. And that is very, very, very dangerous. And within quantity surveying is a very, very good profession. And it has a a lot of market, by the way. When you're a government valuer, or when you're a valuer, independent valuer, they look for them, and you people actually are aware and you don't know. And there are very many professions, there are very many areas where you can upgrade as a quantity surveyor and you become someone who is big. But from quantity surveying to structural engineering, if you have the background, yes. But if you go to a university, like the few I know that I would love you to be in, I think you're going to face a little bit of difficulties, because right now, much as people use software, but you must have an advanced skills of analyzing the structures. You use both softwares and the manual calculations, because the lecturer will want you to prove what you have done with the software by manual calculation. And if you do not have a very strong background, it will really require you to study very, very hard, and you cope up. But the disadvantage with it is that you will face difficulties in being admitted somehow, because whenever you're applying, you don't apply alone. So many people apply, and there are some particular criteria they choose for a position that they want, and what still scholarship, because scholarship there is a requirement. I cannot say you're not going to get it. I will encourage you to generate love for your current profession you have, because it's a very good one and upgrading it. But if you still want to continue in structural engineering, you can also try, though based on my experience, I think you will face a little bit of difficulties. You have to read very hard in order to pass your papers. Otherwise, you can actually waste the 2 years, because if you spend the 2 years and you cannot graduate within the 2 years, yet the scholarship cannot be extended for a period over 2 years, and you have not finished your research, then it becomes a little bit difficult for you. And it is very frustrating. It will be much more frustrating than you concentrating on what you're doing right now. I think, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Odrua. Yes, thank you, Engineer Odrua. There are more questions in the chat, but most of these are addressed to the ED. I'm going to read some of them, and then after I read them, I'm going to give a chance to the ED to also respond. Now, there is one saying, I'm grateful to Mr. Morris and Unabcec. I would like to know if we expect interviews ahead. Another one says, good afternoon to you all. Is there a chance that we may be facilitated because some of us are no longer depending on our parents? And another question is, when is the training beginning? Then another one says, how often is the shortlist going to be updated so that we can get to know those who have been taken by Unabcec member firms? Thank you. I am Naturinda Arod. Another one is, thanks Unabcec for this orientation. I would like to know, as an automotive engineer, how can Unabcec help me develop and practice my career? Edie, please answer this as we take on more questions.
Thank you to our day's moderator and to everyone who has sent in questions that are directed to Unabcec. I would want to begin with the question that is inquiring about when the training is starting and which companies have we attached individual trainees to. I would like to draw the attention of everyone or everyone that is on the shortlist to the email that we sent to you when we were communicating to you that you've been shortlisted. We gave a communication that Unabcec does not directly place trainees to different contractors, but the role of Unabcec here is to make a short list, have you on the database for Unabcec, and Unabcec members will keep on selecting trainees to take on for training. As we speak, our shortlist was out a day ago, but we already have those who have already been taken up by Unabcec members even before we have this webinar. So kindly let's refer to the communication we made. Unabcec does not place directly trainees to contractors. It's contractors that check on our database, check the shortlist, and pick out the trainees they would want to take on for training. That's an answer to someone who asked on training and where they have been placed. Another person is suggesting that they should be allowed to join a common communication platform where they can raise more questions. Yes, thank you for this suggestion, and it's already in plan. Shortly after this webinar, you're going to see yourselves being added on a WhatsApp platform, which we've deliberately put up to allow you to always interact with us. So that common communication platform is already in the pipeline, and every one of you is going to be admitted there. Another person is asking, when should we expect interviews? This is related to the first one. Immediately a company selects you, what comes next is an interview. Interviews are done by the member company that is taking you on. They will be the ones to call you to submit your original documents and go in for an interview. So every one of us that have been shortlisted should expect to go in for an interview at one point. Another question here. Someone is asking, is there a chance that we may be facilitated because some of us are no longer depending on our parents? And another question is, when is the training beginning? The last bit of the question, I've answered it in the previous response. And another question is regarding facilitation. Like the speaker talked about, our focus should be on acquiring the skill. But we believe whoever is taking you on board will in one or another facilitate you. But what we don't want you to go with is going into the field with that high expectation of money. But we believe everyone that will take you on will have that facilitation component. But like as the guest speaker talked about, let's all be open-minded. We go in there with a focus on skills training. Another question I'm seeing here is, how often is the shortlist going to be updated so that we can get to know those who have been taken up by Unabcec members? Our shortlist is going to be updated as often as possible. That's why actually we've put up a platform for you, so that if you're taken on by any member of ours, you communicate to us immediately so that we are able to update the list and share it again with the potential employers. Another question I'm seeing here. This goes direct to Unabcec. I really wanted to know the criteria that will be taken when allocating us to partnering organizations. I answered this already. I said we are not allocating you, but the Unabcec members or the contractors will select your names from the list that we've put forward to them. Someone sees the list, and if he has a need for a civil engineer, then he picks someone whom he feels can do his work under that aspect. If someone is looking out for a surveyor, then he's able to peruse through the list and picks a surveyor. So this part of selecting, we are leaving it to the member companies or the contractors. It's not Unabcec doing it, because we may not know the needs of individual contractors per se. So someone at the other end will look at their structure and say, I'm missing someone under mechanical engineering. Let me go to Unabcec database on the shortlist for GTP intake 2 and pick a mechanical engineer, or pick 3 of them, interview, and probably get one person to fill the position. I'm still checking through the question directed to Unabcec and see if I've been able to exhaust them.
Yes, it did.
Yes, please.
There is someone who was asking us, thanks Unabcec for this orientation. I would like to know, as an automotive engineer, how can Unabcec help me develop and practice my career? And then there is another one. This goes direct to Unabcec. I really wanted to know the criteria that will be taken when allocating us to the partnering organizations. I think you already answered this. And then the last one for Unabcec Additionally, why can't Unabcec also get Ministry of Energy as a partner? So Edie, you answer those, and then after we'll proceed to give Engineer Morris one more question, no, two more questions. And then we'll pick Emmanuel, who has raised his hand, and then we close off this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, moderator. On the question of Unabcec getting Ministry of Energy as a partner, we are actually not looking at Unabcec members. Like we mentioned, the list of our trainees is on our website, and all our partners, most ministries or agencies, once they pick someone, we are in touch with all of them, and that's why we uploaded our list on our website, so that other agencies or ministries are able to identify someone from our shortlist and he's taken on for training. We are not only looking at Unabcec members. Some of you are going to be seeing probably USCE picking you up for training at their end. USCE is the Association for Consulting Engineers in Uganda. You might see UIPE, those are our partners. You might see other agencies picking you up. So you should not actually look at only Unabcec members that are going to take you up for training. Then another person asked on the companies that are affiliated to Unabcec. Thank you for the question. As we interact more on our platform that we've created for you, we shall be able to show you the list of Unabcec members where you would be expecting to get a call from. The person on automotive training, I believe we've shortlisted people who have done automotive engineering, and we believe once there is someone out there that would like to have someone that have done that kind of course, you'll be able to be taken on. In Unabcec, maybe for the sake of our trainees, we don't have only contractors, we have manufacturers of materials that we use in the sector. We have suppliers of equipment that we use. So I believe the person who have done automotive engineering, you're in the safe place. The members of Unabcec in that line are there that will be able to take you on and you're able to practice. I think that's all, moderator.
Yes, thank you, Edie. I think there's one more question for Unabcec. Let's just give you one more question for Unabcec, but I think you've more or less answered it in your previous submissions. What are the chances that mechanical engineering graduates will be taken up? Because I see most of the people here are civil engineering graduates, and I see Unabcec is more of civil engineers. Edie, please respond to that, then we get to Engineer Morris.
Okay, thank you, moderator. And the person who posed such a question, Unabcec members are not only civil, we also have people who are doing mechanical. We have mechanical contractors under this umbrella. So kindly note that much as you're seeing most graduates on our list is civil, we also take on mechanical engineers. And someone else had actually asked, what's the chance that someone who trains in a company will be taken on? We all have 100% chance to be retained, but this is dependent on an individual performance during your training. So as you go out, don't only focus on what you're doing as a trainee. Whatever you do, your performance in the training you do will determine your chance of being retained. So all of us on the shortlist, we have 100% chance of being retained as long as we are able to perform.
Thank you very much, Edie. I would like to direct this question to Engineer Odroa. Good afternoon. I would like to inquire if the graduate training will be as mentioned by by Engineer Odrua that we will be exposed to several fields and in the end, choose one we would like to specialize in. I think this was directed to Unabcec, but I think Engineer Odrua can give us his view on what these trainees should expect as they are taken on. Engineer
Can I
Odrua?
answer? Can I answer?
Yes, please.
I think before I answer this, I will just contribute something to ED about the person who did mechanical engineering, and he's saying he feels Unabcec is for civil engineers. I think at the beginning of the talk, the session, ED clearly mentioned the objectives of this program. And during my talk, I also talked about the system thinking. I think the engineering is these days, the real engineers, those who are practicing real engineering, they don't now look at civil engineer, we are looking at the system now. All these professions are actually connected. Now, when we talk of how do we best adapt, I never wanted to talk of something, but it is called complex adaptive system. Because now the situation we are being faced with as engineers of different profession now, we need some strategies. So we need some strategies and we need strategic thinking to get the solution. And one of the strategies that if we are to implement, we shall forego is by adopting to this kind of system that we are now undertaking by seeing the situation holistically. All these systems are interconnected, and how they operate is that they actually operate together. Now, most of the organization believed to be undertaking civil engineering have mechanical section as well. Let's take Uganda National Roads Authority. Uganda National Roads Authority has also a department for mechanical, because we have very many. We have the vehicle, we have the ferries, we have them, and then these people have their connection even with manufacturers. So I think it is not limited necessarily to civil engineering, as Edith said. Also, other people who have taken interest. However, one thing we should be clear of is that let's now not also be there that Unabcec has taken us now, let me sleep and wait. If you can identify your own organization within the people that Unabcec has in the brain, the list of this contractor, if you have your own opportunity and you happen to get one, I think it is also advisable you report to Unabcec that I've got this organization and I've accepted, kindly align me with this organization. I think it is also better. I don't know what Unabcec will say, but I think that is one of the things that Unabcec should also emphasize onto you people. Now, the question you asked me, it was, try to repeat it again. Namia.
Oh, yes. The question was, I would like to inquire if the graduate training will be as mentioned by Engineer Morris, that we will be exposed to several fields and in the end, choose one that we would like to specialize in.
Now, I think I was very, very clear in my explanation. First of all, it depends on the decision of the person you have gone to train with. But one thing you should understand, there is a difference between the graduate training and the normal internship that we have in the university. Now, the internship that you have, the internship, periodical internship that we have from the university, you are expected to learn series of things. But now, what you're going for is now you're trying to lay out the foundation of your profession. At the internship, we wanted to expose you to all this, because you're having this the theory bit of it without experiencing the actual practical how they are done. So we subject you to those kind of training during internship so that you can appreciate and have and choose from there which profession. And the purpose of it, by the way, I normally advise students, when you do an internship in first or second year, your final year project should be along the area which you love. If you think structural was something that you love, it is better for you to take also final year project in structural so that you can do something better. If you think geotech it's basically to give you a career guidance on how you can choose. But now the graduate training, you are actually, depending on the way you will behave, indirectly, most of you may be actually absorbed. You may disagree on the term of payment after the training period, but I would really advise that you shouldn't look at money at this time. When you go, I was telling you, you can learn so many things. The first way I told you, the way you can learn very, very many things is through community of practice. Sharing things with your colleagues. Learning there is basically depend on you because you're not working under pressure to report maybe someone, you want to learn this so that you can write. Here you're going for real learning. When you're doing internship, you can ask so many questions, you write the things for the purpose of writing your report so that you can present the best report. But here you're going to learn something in order to have the experience that can help you. And I told you how you can help get better things by yourself, much as you're placed in other sector. But promising you right now that you're going to be placed, they will be rotating you, I cannot promise because it depends on the policy of the company and the purpose they have taken you for. Because you'll find they may take you because they are lacking a particular position in their department and they want you to go and fill that position. And they will take based on some of your CVs you have been writing. We have been indicating I've been with this company, I did A, B, C, D. So if they are lacking a particular personnel, they just say, why don't we get this person and try him? If he does well, then we can retain. So the objective of the company in recruiting you to their company determines where you're going to be placed. But still, if you place anywhere, you can still learn a lot so long as you're within the same project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Odrua. In the interest, yes, please.
I'm seeing concerns from our trainees regarding the shortlist. We all know that we had our first list that came out and then released another updated list after attending to the appeals. So kindly relay your fears. The list we have that has been shared is an updated one that has everyone's name. As you received emails confirming your success to be on this list, all your names were transferred to the updated list. However, we encourage you to check it critically. If you find your name is not there, kindly get back to the programs officer for him to ensure that your name is on the list and clearly under the course that you studied. Because I've seen someone complaining that he studied something, but he's been put under civil. He did the electrical, he's being listed under civil. That's a minor error that can always be rectified, and an updated list will be put forward again with your name under your relevant course that you studied. That's what I wanted to clear, Madam Moderator.
Yes, thank you so much, Edie. In the interest of time, since this webinar was supposed to end at midday, I will not take on any more questions. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has taken part in this webinar. But specifically to thank Engineer Odrua for taking off time to give advice and guidance to these trainees. Most of us did not get this chance. We just went raw and learned on job. But these trainees have been privileged enough to have someone speak to them, someone with your kind of experience and skills. And I believe they've learned a lot. As you can see in the chats, they are appreciating and they are very humbled to be part of this program. I would also love to thank Unabcec for this initiative. I'm sure very many trainees have benefited from it. And because this is phase 1, so very many trainees getting placed. Much Unabcec. Thank you, ED. Thank you to the Unabcec president. But before we close, I would love to give the Unabcec president a chance to say something and closing remarks, basically. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our moderator. Namia, I think you've done us an incredible job to put us together. Listening to Maurice Odoch, you are an incredible gift to this country. Thank you for your very elaborate communication that you've given to our young people. You have been talking to over 100 people, and surely it is something that goes beyond the profession. And I think you've spoken with your heart, and I am so thankful to God that we have men like you in this country, and specifically in the fraternity. I'm so glad that we have you, and you've done us so well. I want to appreciate our ED for making sure that all our young people who are getting ready for the field are in step with what is necessary, and this effort goes a long way to make sure that you become your very best. And I like the comprehensiveness by which Maurice has brought out the various components. I think I have liked the thought of system/critical thinking, and then how everything else plays together. I just love that. And I'm sure that our young people, as you've been hearing, you have a lot of notes that you need to be able to take. I presume that Mr. Maurice, you could be having some kind of write-up that you could share with our young people that they will be able to make reference to. And of course, our graduate trainees, you are the reason we are here. And if you had not been disciplined enough, we would not be here. And because of you, we are able to have this moment and dig down into the wells of Maurice's heart, and we are able to learn a lot. Just a few things that I would want to just add up to tie out a few loose ends here and there. I think I like the way that Maurice was able to bring out the entire submission, and possibly if I summarize it based on my outlook in life, which I think I like the part that he brought the aspect of culture to play out, but I think he also made an emphasis about God and then your own personality. And if I could turn it out to the other side, is that you must certainly be having an inspiration in your heart. Something motivated you to pick on the fraternity. As a person that is hoping to become a great engineer, you certainly have something that inspired you. And with that, I get to think that you have a vision for your life. And because you have a vision for your life, you have even taken the time that instead of chatting away, you decided to want to actually have this webinar. And I really want to congratulate you for that. I also see from what he has been saying, it is one thing to know something. It is completely another thing for you to actually focus on the people that you know that you need to partner with in order for you to be able to realize that vision, which in essence, when you combine it with your mission, you will be able to live a life of purpose. And that therefore will eventually answer to the whys of your life and the what that you're dealing with and the when and the where and who you need to be connected with, and how you're going to be able to execute that. And I think Maurice brought it out so well. I want to say something that will possibly just give you a little bit of a spinning in your head. And then I have had more than 30 years in the field, and I have seen all kinds of people. And sometimes I've seen people who have looked for, government jobs, and after about 5 years of working in those jobs, and possibly the contract has ended, and just 1 year down the road, and they are not even able to carry themselves. And I've seen them visiting contractors, asking for fuel to transport them, and sometimes they start raising issues like, I want to go for burial, just if you could give me some 20 liters. And these are people that contractors would have been benching on their very doors to try to find a job. And now 5 years down the road, they're almost a nobody. So you need to understand how society is structured so that you know where to put your effort. And I want to reiterate what Maurice was talking about, that when you are looking at engineering, there is a lot of composition there. You are thinking of the person who is doing the electrical, but you are also aware that there is certainly going to be somebody who is going to cook the food. There is somebody who is just going to keep the files. There's another person going to drive the cars. There is another person who is just going to carry the documents from one place and go to another. And so there is a lot of integration in order for the product to be delivered. There's a lot of financial management that will need to be playing out in the background. And sometimes as a person thinking from the engineering point of view, you may not actually see their relevance until you see a strike. Then you will realize the importance of the policeman or the security guard who is standing at the gate. And then possibly you will get to also appreciate the other kind of fellow who is just carrying water and mopping the floor and all of that. They are all so important. There is no need for any one of us to be in any place of saying that there is any particular job that is not relevant. Each one of them plays out. So what is critical is, what exactly do you feel you are cut out for? That is what is so critical. Nevertheless, I just want you to appreciate the 7 components of the construction of society. The first bit is, you will even see politicians, or you see people in the engineering fraternity run to a witch doctor. Or possibly you see them in a mosque or in a church or somewhere. That ideally means the primary place for us to draw reason for whatever we do and continuous inspiration, but also a place where we need to find a sense of belonging, will always have something to do with spirituality. And I hear Maurice, when he was talking about it, he says, make sure you have some kind of a God that you are responding to. Preferably if your God is really a God, not just an idea. It's good for you to be able to have that. The second bit that you see from there is that engineering is ideally a consequence of a policy position. So that means the people who sit in political offices form the second tier of the construction of society. That means the politician will come out with a document that will tell you that this is where the priority of government is. And therefore they will structure everything else to go in that direction. And so you need to understand how these things all play out. So sometimes we can be thinking that engineering is the thing, but as a matter of fact, I have been seeing it over time, that you will find a person in a policy position is actually telling you what to do, regardless of how brilliant you are. And I think you could have heard from what Maurice is saying, that now he's going towards MBA, which takes us to the next third level, which is the economics. In order for you to live well, you must know how to have options in life. And one of the things that economics does is that you will not be stuck. You will know what you need to have to go in a particular direction, including the means to do it. And so that is so critical for you to be able to understand. The fourth level is the society itself will demand that your sense of relationship, how you're going to relate with people, is so critical. If you do not know how to make friends, including putting people in their place, which sometimes would mean you're going to really hurt some people. including these issues of the fact that you're going to go to a place, and Maurice again said it so well, man, you are such a wealth for this country. I like the way you've been thinking. You know, if you carry yourself in a particular way, people will actually get attracted to the kind of person that you present. If you have presented yourself as loose, you will attract the loose people. If you have presented yourself as a person of integrity, people will only come to you on matters of integrity. And so you need to choose what manner of a woman or man that you need to be in order for you to attract the nonsense, or you will need to attract the greatness that you want out of life. Therefore, the fifth thing, which ideally is the level where engineering falls, is on technology, which is structured delivery of a particular service. Ideally, all that we are talking about is, as engineers, we are providing a structured delivery. There are people who sit down and think and say, I mean, if you listen to our president especially, he will say that I'm looking for a middle income country in the year so and so. When you look at it from the National Development Program 2, you will actually see that there is a statement there from which everything else that structures the way government thinks, it shows that eventually it falls down into engineering, but the point is that it should lead to providing service and for the transformation of society. And so you need to see where the engineering plays out. So I really urge you to understand the 4 tiers of society that is prior to the engineering. That does not mean that the engineering is not important. Without it, certainly there is no structured delivery, but at the same time, you need to understand that it is also consequential. And the 6th one is, of course, the environment. After you are doing everything that you're doing, you need to make sure that it is sustainable. So whatever we do, at the end of the day, I have not been hearing a number of us here saying that I have done environmental science. And one of the things that we are struggling with as contractors and even as Unabcec is that there are very few environmental engineers and scientists. That they're really on market. And as a matter of fact, when you are an environmentalist, there is a very high chance that you will not even struggle, because I mean, all contractors and including supervisors are looking for environmentalists. So think about that. And then of course, the 7th one is when all the above has failed, then you got the legal brain coming to put you to order, just because you've not known how to comply. So whether you are a witch doctor all the way to a pastor, a prophet, or whatever, an imam and all of that kind of, if we do not know, whether you are an engineer, if we do not know how to carry ourselves in order, then the legal fraternity will come into play. They will always tell you that the learned friends, but as far as the tier of society is concerned, they fall in the 7th category. So my takeaway for you that you need to have at the back of your mind is, whether a contractor or any of our members are going to take you or not, there is one thing you need to bear at the back of your mind. You cannot fail. You need to allow that to sink down in your spirit, because I think one of the biggest problems I see with young people is a spirit of apathy. Many of us are always thinking that, you know, somebody needs to do something for me or else I'm finished. I want to really assure you, if you can get it right, you cannot fail. Because the God that made you is not a failure, and therefore he cannot make a failure. And so you need to believe that. It's so important. The second thing is that if you watch carefully, the world has a tendency of making a way for a person who knows where he's going. So when you know where you're going and you have a sense of resolve within your own spirit, you will actually begin to attract people that will tell you, you know, this is how you could do it. So make sure that you've got a good hold of yourself. In other words, everything is working in your favor. It is only you who can actually fail yourself. Nobody will fail you. Besides, I also don't think it is prudent for you to think that somebody should actually do you a favor, because it is very little. Yes, we are there to make sure that you are supported. But primarily, I want to trigger this in the inside of you, that there is a competence that is lying, waiting for you to awake it. And you've been awakening it, and do your best to make sure that as you awake it, you will cause it to begin to blossom. And therefore, how do you do that? I propose these 7 things very quickly. Number 1 is know the truth. There are so many things that you could actually think about, that this is Uganda and whatever, and then you cut corners, and before you know it, it will work against you. So know the truth. The truth is both a principle, including the fact that the truth is also a person. So you need to be able to know that. The second thing that I want you to know is have a good sense of rationality. If you listen to what Maurice was saying and what Madame Edie Elizabeth was saying and what our moderator has been saying, is that they have been thinking. That means they have been rational. They have contextualized what they were presenting to you. And so you need to be very rational. So rationality leads you into knowing how to put things in various compartments that are so critical for you. The third thing that you want to be able to have at the back of your mind is a sense of ingenuity. While everybody else is getting stuck, you need to be ingenious enough to understand that opportunity always waits for people who are willing to make sure that they solve problems. So every time you're going to a place of work, don't look at, you know, your rights and whatever. Look at what is my roles and what are my responsibilities. As a matter of fact, if you focus on solving problems, you will actually find your life becoming addictive, that people cannot work without you. Maurice has just told you that one person was playing with him and he decided to take a time offside, and the other person found themselves lining their own thoughts. Make sure that you become addictive, and to do that, find problems, solve them. And as you learn how to solve problems, you make yourself very relevant. Fourthly, I want you to live by virtue. Virtue is not just something that is, you know, supposed to be admired because it is a philosophy. Virtue is tangible, therefore it can be transferable. People can be inspired by the way you carry yourself. When somebody looks at the way you do what you do, when you touch something and it becomes beautiful, the next thing that is going to happen is everybody would want to associate with you. Every businessman, a contractor is a businessman. You need to understand his focus is on return in investment. He's not there to do anybody a favor. And so you need to understand that when he realizes that there is a quality in the inside of you, that when he sees from you, they would want to make sure that they retain you. And that is what makes you irresistible. And then fifthly, excellence. You know, I like the word excellence. You know, perhaps that is the reason why they will always make sure that the executive office is about His Excellency. The point there is, excellence cannot settle for anything cheaper than the very best that exists. So you never find yourself in more than one place at the same time. And so therefore, when you find yourself doing something, give your bloody best. Make sure that you're so good in the things that you do that when somebody tries to do something that is any less, you will have already set a standard. That will just make you unquestionably irresistible. Sixthly, is a sense of tenacity. And every time I think about tenacity, I think of a bulldog. Because a bulldog has got the capacity to breathe while it is biting, I think every young man who gets into the field, you need to think that way. Bite while you're breathing, and you are continuing to add more pressure into the kind of things that you do. And when you are doing that, ideally, it will just be inevitable that everybody that wants to do something, they want to be able to say, this young man or is the person that will get the work done. So thinking that, I want you to have this one thing that I see that very many people actually do not appreciate, and that is the heart of service. Everybody can be a boss, you know. Actually, they say that when you meet 10 Ugandans, you will find 9 of them are bosses and only one is a servant leader. So if you could actually pick it upon yourself to learn how to be a servant leader, you will lead the bosses. With that in mind, I want to commend you to a great future. I want to commend you that as you meet anybody, they will actually see that there is a quality in this young man and in this young woman that I would love to be able to connect with. And people will begin to unveil to you the details of how they execute their works. and you will connect in a higher level. And instead of cheapening yourself on WhatsApps and seeing who should flirt with you and which place you need to go and eat which kind of food, you're the kind of people who are beginning to think that I am going to add value to this country, and this country is going to be like when we are quoting about China and we are quoting about Japan, as Maurice is talking about, or the US or Europe. I think there is a possibility that we can be original enough to make Uganda a beautiful country. I want to bless you, and I want to say thank you for being in the forum, and I want to thank our ED, I want to thank our moderator, and thank you so much, Maurice, for doing us a great job. I wish you a blessed future. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those words, for those brilliant words, Mr. President. At this juncture, I would like to close the webinar. I believe we've benefited a lot. We've been able to exhaust everything we wanted to talk about, and hopefully we'll do this again. Thank you very much, and bye-bye. Have a nice day.